Good morning, gentlemen. I am coming to you from the Deanship of the Common Year, Majmah University, and this is the English Second Language course, the online version. For today's lesson, I am your teacher, Dale Warren. The language skill we are covering today is speaking, and this is lesson 4, level 2, and the textbook we are using is Q Skills for Success, book 2 of the listening and speaking series. The book should look like that, the pale blue book with a 2 in the top right hand corner, and it should tell you that it is listening and speaking. Alright, I take it you all have the book, and I take it you all have pens and paper if you need to make note. You will definitely need pens or pencils to fill in the homework sections. We are covering 2 grammar sections today. The first section is on the imperative mood of the verb, which is on page 70. And the second section is auxiliary verbs, which are on page 90. We are actually covering auxiliary verbs for questions. Alright, the homework that we will be doing today is on page 70, exercise A, which is on auxiliary verbs. On page 91, we are doing, page 70 on imperative verbs, and on page 91, we are doing 2 exercises. Exercises A and exercise B, and they are both on auxiliary verbs. So 3 sections of homework: the imperative verbs, exercise A on page 70, and 2 exercises on auxiliary verbs, exercise A and exercise B on page 91. Those will be our homework. When you have done those 3 exercises, I do need you to take a photograph of page 70 and of page 91. Take a photo with your smartphone and then send that photo as homework to your normal speaking teacher. Alright, let us start on page 70. And the section we are on is this part, auxiliary verbs. Imperative verbs, I beg your pardon. Alright, let us define a few of the concepts here. An imperative is a command. It is something that you have to do, that you are being told to do. So in English, if I tell somebody else what he has to do, what he must do, I will use the imperative mood of the verb. The imperative verb takes the exact same form as the base verb. So, if we give some examples of imperatives: eat your supper, read your book, listen to me. Eat and read and listen are all imperatives. They are commands. I am telling somebody he has to eat his supper, he has to read his book, he has to listen to me. That is the positive imperative. A negative imperative is formed by adding do not or the short form don't in front of the base verb. So if I tell somebody cook supper quickly, that is a positive imperative. Cook supper quickly, positive. But I can tell the person do not cook supper quickly, or if I want to use the shortened form, I can say don't cook supper quickly. If I want to tell somebody the positive imperative, run 40 kilometers, that is positive. If I want to make it negative, all I do is add don't in front of it. If I want to give somebody a positive instruction, I will say give him the money. But if I don't want him to give the money, to make that a negative imperative, all I do is say do not give him the money. Or I can say don't give him the money. And when we put do not or don't in front of the positive imperative, it turns it into a negative command or a negative instruction. All right. The homework is on page 70A. Let us go there quickly. And basically what we have to do, we have to look at the verbs below the line, help, show, and use, which are all base verbs. And we then have to make imperatives of them and write the imperatives above the line. Now, where they have written beneath the line affirmative or affirmative, that means you use the positive imperative, the simple form of the imperative. But where they have put negative or negative, that means you have to use the base form of the imperative with a do not or a don't in front. So if we take the first one, the first example, what does it say? Because the imperative here was, affirmative, we give the form help. If they had asked for the negative form, then we would have said don't help, or we would have said do not help. But they didn't ask for the negative form. They asked for the affirmative. And the affirmative form of the imperative, or the positive form, would simply be help. All right. So that is what I need you to know about the imperative. Okay, I need you to fill in the homework, as I say, page 70 and exercise A. You must take each of the verbs below the line and you must complete either a positive imperative or a negative imperative form to complete the sentence. Okay, the second section of grammar that we are covering today is on page 90, and it is about the auxiliary verb. All right. Let us have a look at our notes. All right, as I said, the auxiliary verb is a helping verb, and it always helps the main verb. So, if we want examples of auxiliary verbs, words like can, would, should, may, will, or do, those are all auxiliary verbs. They help the main verb. When we have a sentence with two verbs, the auxiliary verb comes first in the sentence, while the main verb is placed second. This happens whether the auxiliary verb is used in a question or just in a statement. Okay, if we look at those two examples, the auxiliary verb is will. And the main verb is eat. And as you can see in our sentence, he will eat, the auxiliary verb will comes before the main verb eat. But even if we change the statement into a question, the auxiliary verb will still always come first. So here we have the auxiliary verb will, and even though the word order of the whole sentence has now changed, you will still find that the auxiliary verb will is coming first, and the main verb eat comes after the auxiliary verb. So always remember, in an English sentence, whether it is a statement or whether it is a question, the auxiliary verb will always be placed first, and the main verb will always be placed second. All right. When the auxiliary verb is the verb to be, then the main verb will be in the present participle form, which is a base verb plus ing. Remember, the verb to be is the forms am, is, are, were, was, will be, have been, and so forth. And when our auxiliary verb is any of those forms, then our main verb will be in the present participle form. So if I have to give an example, okay, our auxiliary here is was. Our main verb is eating. And that main verb is a present participle because it has the root verb and in this case our root verb is eat. And to that you add ing and you get the present participle eating. So remember that, please, when the auxiliary verb is any of the forms of the verb to be, whether it's am, is, are, was, were, any of those forms, then the main verb has to be in the present participle form, which is a base verb plus ing. So because our auxiliary verb is was, and was is one of the forms of the verb to be, then our main verb has to be a present participle, and in this case it's the present participle of eat, and the present participle of eat is eating. He was eating capsa. Alright, if we use any other auxiliary verb, a verb that is not the verb to be, then when we are using it in the simple present and the simple past tenses, the main verb is always in the root form. Okay, so let us have a look at the construction for today, which is the auxiliary verb in yes and no questions. The way we make this construction is very simple. It has four basic building blocks. The first is the auxiliary verb itself. The second is the subject. The third is the main verb. And the fourth is the predicate. So that is how you are going to make your construction. Alright, if we put it into a box, if we look at the first example, our auxiliary verb, our helping verb is do. The subject is you. Then we have the main verb, which is in the root form, like, and our predicate here is the ice cream. Do you like the ice cream? If we look at our second example, is our auxiliary verb. Ahmed is our subject. The main verb is looking. And remember, when the auxiliary is the verb to be, the main verb has to be the present participle. Our auxiliary here is, which is a form of the verb to be. So our main verb will be the present participle, looking. And our predicate here is for his book. So our whole question reads, is Ahmed looking for his book? If we look at example number 3, our auxiliary verb is are, our subject is you, our main verb is wanting, and our predicate is money. Again, the auxiliary verb here is a form of the verb to be. Are is a form of the verb to be, and because the auxiliary is a form of the verb to be, that means our main verb has to be in the present participle form, so it has to end in the ing. So our whole question goes, are you wanting money? Our fourth question, our fourth example, the auxiliary verb is does, the subject is he, the main verb feel is in the root form, and the predicate is sick. Does he feel sick? Does is the form of the verb to do. It is not a form of the verb to be. So because it is not a form of the verb to be, we use the root form of the verb for the main verb. We do not use the participle. If I changed does to is, then I would be using a form of the verb to be, and in that case, I would have to say, is he feeling sick? All right, but in fact, we did not use is, we used does, which is not a form of the verb to be, so the main verb has to go into the root form. Okay, just to revise why we call these yes or no questions. These are yes and no questions because they can only take the answer yes or the answer no. So if I say to you, do you like the ice cream? You can either say, yes, I do like the ice cream, or no, I don't like the ice cream. If I say to you, is Ahmed looking for his book? You can say to me, yes, Ahmed is looking for his book. Or you can say, no, Ahmed is not looking for his book. If I say, are you wanting money? Again, this is a yes and no question because you can either say, yes, I want money, or you can say, no, I don't want money. The next important question, or the next important point that we have to understand about sentences that have an auxiliary verb and a main verb is that when we change those sentences from the present tense into the past tense, we change the auxiliary verb only. The main verb stays the same. So, if we look at these examples again, and I say to you, do you like the ice cream? That is present tense. If I want to make it past tense, I say, did you like the ice cream? That is the correct past tense. If I say, do you like the ice cream? Wrong. The main verb does not change. If I say, did you like the ice cream? That is also wrong. The main verb does not change. So if we change it from the present tense, do you like the ice cream? It simply changes to, did you like the ice cream? If we change example 2, and if we say, is Ahmed looking for his book? That is present tense. If I want to make it past tense, all I do is I say, was Ahmed looking for his book? So, if we say, is Ahmed looking for his book today? That is present tense. It is happening now. If I want to make it past tense, was Ahmed looking for his book? And I can say yesterday, which makes it clear that that is past. All that changes is the auxiliary verb. So, to change it back from past to present, all we say is. And again, it is in the present tense. If I say, are you wanting money? That is present tense. Are you wanting money right now? But if I want to make it past tense, all I do is say, were you wanting money? Were you wanting money last year? Were you wanting money yesterday? Were you wanting money last week? And it becomes past tense. To make it present tense, all you do, are you wanting money? Again, does he feel sick? That is present tense. If I make it did he feel sick, that is past tense. I do not say did he feel sick. I do not say does he feel sick. The past tense is did he feel sick. So all of the main verbs stay exactly the same when we change them from past to present, the sentence from past to present, or when we change the sentence from present to past. All that changes is the auxiliary verb. The auxiliary verb will go from past to present or present to past, but the main verb will stay exactly the same. All right. Those are yes or no questions. And we have one exercise of homework that I need you to do on yes or no questions. And the exercise is on page 91, and it is exercise A. So I need you all to go to that exercise. All right. Exercise A, they are wanting you to make yes or no questions with the words that they have given you. Now, what you need to do before you make the question is look at the word here in brackets. That word present, past, present, present. They want you to make sure that the auxiliary verb, if they put present, you have put it into the present tense. If they put past in brackets, that means the sentence must be in the past tense, which means the auxiliary verb, not the main verb, must go into the past tense. If they put present here, it means the auxiliary verb, but not the main verb, must go into the present tense. So if we look at example number 1, Do they study maths at school? We are now making a question, so remember the punctuation at the end has to be a question mark. Remember that. It's gone from a statement to a question. This is present tense because our auxiliary verb is present tense. So the correct answer is, do they study maths at school? Now, they have asked for the present tense. If they ask for the past tense, all you would need to do is say, did they study maths at school? The main verb study stays exactly the same. When you change from present tense to past tense, the only thing that changes is this verb at the front, the auxiliary verb. Alright, I need you guys to do the next 3 examples, and when you have done them, and you have done exercise B as well, then take a photograph of page 71 along with your photograph of page 91, along with your photograph of page 70, and they must be sent to your normal English teacher as your homework. Alright, the last bit we have to cover today is the auxiliary verb when it is used in information questions. The basic construction here again is a very, very simple one. The first building block of the construction is our question word, which can be what, when, why, how, whose, whom. The second building block is the subject, the person who does the action. The third building block is the main verb, which must either be in the root form or the present participle form. And the last building block is the predicate. Alright, so again, it's a very simple construction of 5 blocks. If we put it into a table, it will look like this. The question word first, and in our first example, where the auxiliary verb is the subject he, the main verb, which is a present participle here because is a form of the verb to be, and our predicate is his money. Where is he putting his money? Our second example, what is the question word? Do is the auxiliary verb. Our subject is you. Our main verb is eat, which is the root form, and it is the root form because do is a form of the verb to do. It is not a form of the verb to be, so it takes the root form for the main verb. And our whole question reads, what do you eat for breakfast? If we look at our third example, how is our question word. Our auxiliary verb is does. Our subject is Ahmed. The main verb is play, which is the root form of the verb, and the predicate is football. And our last example, why are you coming late to class? Why is our question word. Are is the auxiliary verb, and it is a form of the verb to be. And because it is a form of the verb to be, our main verb come must be in the present participle form coming. Our subject is you, and our predicate is late to class. So the whole question reads, why are you coming late to class? Now, again, all of these questions are in the present tense, and if we have to change them to the past tense, the only thing that changes is the auxiliary verb. So if it is currently the present tense and I want to change it, where is he putting his money? And I want to make it past tense, where was he putting his money? What do you eat for breakfast? And I want to make it past tense, what did you eat for breakfast? How does Ahmed play football? And our past tense would be, how did Ahmed play football? If our present tense is, why are you coming late to class? Our past tense would be, why were you coming late to class? So that is the past tense. All that changes is the auxiliary verb. Again, if we want to change these past tenses back to present tense, where is he putting his money? Present tense, what do you eat for breakfast? Present tense, how does Ahmed play football? Does he play well or does he play badly? And present tense, why are you coming late to class? So we do not change the main verb at all. It stays exactly the same when you are changing from the present tense to the past tense. Only that auxiliary verb changes when we change the tense. Okay. Why are these called information questions? They're information questions because they start with a question word and they ask for some information. So if I say, where is he putting his money? I am asking for the place where he puts his money. If I say, what do you eat for breakfast? I am asking for the thing that he ate for breakfast. If I say, why are you coming late to class? I am asking information. I am asking the reason he is coming late to class. All right, this is why these are information questions. You are asking each time for a piece of information. And information questions start with a question word. They start with question words. Any of those words, and there are a lot of others, that tells you that it's an information question. A yes or no question will not start with why or what or when or where. It will just start with the auxiliary verb if it is a yes or no question. All right. Our homework here is on page 91 and it is exercise B this time. And here they are asking us to write information questions. And again, they are telling us that we must use the past tense in question 1, the past tense in question 2, the present tense in question 3, and the present continuous tense in question 4. All right. What that means is that when we make the question, we must see that the auxiliary verb changes. So, when we make the answer, this is the answer they are looking for, because they asked for the past tense. So we put do into the past tense and it becomes did, but use, the main verb, stays unchanged. Okay. This is the main verb. All right. So when we give them the past tense answer, why did Henry Louis Gates use DNA in the study? Make sure that your auxiliary goes into the past tense, because they've asked for the past tense in the question. But your main verb stays unchanged. Now, they asked for the past tense in the question. If the question had asked for the present tense, then you would say, why does? Henry Louis Gates used DNA in the study. If we asked for the present continuous tense, which they did not do, we would say, why is Henry Louis Gates using DNA in the study? When we make a present continuous tense, it is am, is, are, plus a present participle. Okay, so if you have a present tense, Ali eats capsa, and we change that to a present continuous tense, it goes to Ali is eating capsa. Remember that where you see that word continuous, it means there will be a form of the verb to be plus a present participle. All right, because the fourth question in this exercise is asking for the present continuous tense. All right, but in fact, number one, they asked for the past tense, and it would be, why did Henry Louis Gates use DNA in the study? We would change the auxiliary to the past tense, and we would keep the main verb use unchanged. And that would be the correct answer when they want the question in the past tense, which is what they do want. Okay, I need you guys also to fill in all the answers in 2, 3, and 4, the missing answers. And then, as I say, take your photo of page 91 and your photo of page 70 and send them both to your normal speaking teacher as your homework. Thank you very much, gentlemen.